Howdy, and welcome to Alamo Film Group's Make Your Movie interview series. I'm your host, Art Kurland, and today's guest is Rob Mabry.
Hey everybody.
And we're here at Olla Coffee in Los Patios, shopping area on the north side, right off Fort 10. So Rob is an award-winning independent filmmaker from San Antonio. He began.
That's all true. That's all true.
Yep. Thank you for being here.
Sure.
He began his career as a military journalist and humor columnist for the United States Army. So thank you for your service.
Yeah. Didn't expect you to pull that out, but all right, yeah. That is all true too.
Sure, I got some more.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so just some of his awards. Nominated for Best Dark Comedy for Mr. Figmentus at Austin After Dark Film Festival.
Yeah.
Second Impressions, his short film, won Best Comedy Film at Anatolia International Film Festival.
World renowned.
The Turkish no comedy.
That's so true.
And Legion of Terror, HR, which I know a little bit about.
A bit, yeah, I'd say so.
Was nominated for Best Comedy Television Pilot at Atlanta Comedy Film Festival.
Are you going to name every award I've ever won?
Well, that's it.
Okay, let's stop there.
Yeah, because there's a lot.
I appreciate it.
There's a lot. But I will say that Rob does have his own production company. It's called Bright Eyed Pictures, and has several honorable mentions in San Antonio 48-hour film productions.
Yeah.
So, Rob, I'm going to just start off with, how do you go from a Army journalist into filmmaking? Like, who and what inspired you to become a filmmaker?
Okay, well, first of all, I was an Army journalist a long time ago.
Okay, fair enough.
But I guess the military sort of plays into me becoming a filmmaker. I grew up on a military base. My dad worked for the government, and every Sunday they would have a kids matinee at the movie theater there. And it was in Germany, right? So no American TV. So having the opportunity to go and watch a movie every Sunday, my mom would give me $1. That would get me into the movie, popcorn, soda, probably a candy bar, and I would sit in the movie theater and saw movies like, I don't know, a lot of Disney stuff, Super Dad, Flubber, Herbie the Love Bug, all those things. I remember seeing several of the Ray Harryhausen films, the stop motion animation, Jason and the Argonauts, Sinbad and the Seven Seas.
That was a long time ago.
I know. Well, those movies are from the 60s, but it's a military base, so they were still playing those for the matinees.
But lag a little bit, yeah.
So I think that's a big part of my appreciation for film. And then when I was a kid, my dad had a Super 8 movie camera, and he recorded all kinds of home movies. And I remember he did one thing, he got the latest cool version of the Super 8 camera that had stop motion. And he took, I don't know if you remember the little magnetic alphabet things that you'd have for kids.
Yes.
Okay, so he took those and he did a stop motion animation credits for one of our home movies.
Oh, that's great.
And that stuck with me.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's, I think, kind of the genesis of my love for film.
Okay. And so what directors do you admire, and who's your favorite?
So Steven Spielberg is at the top, I mean, Jaws, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List,
goes on and
Close
on.
Encounters of the Third Kind, Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is my favorite film of all time. So he's on a pedestal. Yeah. And then kind of my Mount Rushmore, I don't know, a big fan of James Cameron, Quentin Tarantino. When I saw Reservoir Dogs in the theater, I was just like, holy shit, you know. It was something that was different and special. Robert Zemeckis, I really like. Martin Scorsese. I think Goodfellas is just about a perfect film. So those would be some of the guys that I think influenced me. And on the comedy side, like John Hughes, Christopher Guest, kind of inventing the mockumentary format. Mel Brooks is a huge influence.
Yeah.
That was another thing when I was a kid. When we were moving to Germany, we had to live in a hotel, and we lived in this hotel for like at least a month, probably almost 2 months. And this was in the 70s. You remember the 70s,
Yes, I
right?
do.
Yeah. So, like, there'd be one movie that would play, you know, in the hotel room, and it was Blazing Saddles. And so
okay.
I've watched Blazing Saddles
Yeah.
like probably 100 times. I could watch it again today. Like, I really fell in love with, you know, Mel Brooks comedy and that sort of wacky, goofy stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think that has been a big influence
Yeah.
on, you know, what I do from a comedy standpoint.
Stop or he's going to get it.
Yeah, I saw a meme the other day that said, you know, if you showed Blazing Saddles today, it'd be like a 7-minute long movie because it is, you know, what we consider politically incorrect. But I don't think that's true. I think it's on HBO Max right now, and it's the whole movie. So.
I would watch it again. Yeah, for sure. So in your projects that you're involved in literally all the different stages from writing, directing, producing, post-production. Are you partial to any particular element of the process?
Yeah, so I like writing. I'm a storyteller. I think that's one of the reasons that I'm a filmmaker. And so I really enjoy the process of developing a story. And writing can be tough. Like, it's a lonely endeavor, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just you and your keyboard. And so it can be tough. But I really just enjoy that process of creating a story. And then on the other end, I really like editing. Because to me, that is when you are kind of taking the pieces of the puzzle, you know, of all this footage that you've shot and creating a movie from that. And I think that there's a lot of sort of creativity and problem solving that you have to do as an editor. And
you made me look good, so.
It wasn't easy.
That's
problem
solving the problem.
Yeah, so I think those are two things that I enjoy most in the process. Like, I love directing, and it's a lot of fun. It can be a grind sometimes, right? And it's very stressful. And I think that sort of director-producer is the most stressful part of the process because, you know, you have to make so many decisions. Nothing ever goes right, or often things don't go right. So for me, the writing and the editing are things that I enjoy the most.
So equally, or could you pick a favorite?
Probably writing, you know, because if I didn't do that, there would be nothing, right?
Yep.
So,
yeah,
writing.
So you've written and directed at least a half a dozen of the 48-hour film project shorts. So what is it about the 48 that draws you in?
Instant gratification, for one. Like, a lot of times, you know, you go and make a film and it takes weeks, and, you know, eventually, you know, it's done. With the 48 hours, you got 48 hours, right? So you're going to have a finished product at the end of the weekend, which I think is pretty exciting. It also, I don't know, I like that pressure cooker atmosphere, and I enjoy, to a degree, the stress that it puts on you. Like, you know, you pick a genre out of a hat, and that Friday night you've got to bang out a script, and, you know, hopefully you're going to be done by midnight, and then you're going to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you're going to film all day, and then Sunday you're going to get up and you're going to edit it, you know, together. So that is very, very challenging, and I feel like it's not for the faint of heart.
Right.
And I think for the people who do, you know, a 48, whatever the end product ends up being, like, they've done something special, you know, just by making a movie in 48 hours.
I agree.
And you know, it gives you an opportunity to work with, you know, people that you really want to work with, and so that's you know, that camaraderie that you build as part of, you know, doing something where you're really under pressure. I think is a big part of that 48 experience. So.
Well said. I couldn't agree more. Yeah. So what does it take to make it as an independent filmmaker?
Well, I don't know if I've made it yet.
Well on your way.
We'll see. I'm trying. Perseverance, I think, is important. Like, you've got to believe in yourself and not give up. I see a lot of people like, oh, I want to be a filmmaker. Hey, I want to make a movie. But they, come up with a bunch of excuses as to why it's not going to happen, and they don't get it done. Yep. And so I think, you've got to have some belief in yourself and a willingness to make mistakes and like allow yourself to make mistakes. If asked for advice about, like how do I become a filmmaker, I would say go make a bad movie, right? Because you've got to develop your skills. You're not going to be a good filmmaker until you've made some bad movies. You learn from that process. You get better and better. And no one says you have to show the film to anybody if you're not happy with the result. Right. But if you don't do it, then it's not going to happen. So I think that perseverance is important. Studying, the craft of filmmaking, and there's so many resources out there now, right? You can go on YouTube and you can learn anything that you would ever need to know about making a film, but you've got to put in a little time, to kind of understand, camera movement and lighting. There's you don't have to be super technical, and you can find people, who are good at that. If you're more of a storyteller or somebody who, gravitates towards wanting to work with the actors and craft the performances. But I do think that you've got to put some time in kind of studying the craft of filmmaking to become a good independent filmmaker. And then beyond that, to me, being a director is like dealing with emergencies and making decisions. Like, those are the two things that you're doing when you're on a film set. And so you've got to be in that mindset, like to be ready to deal with things that are going to go wrong, because they always do. Yep. And then, you will have people coming at you, whether it be, somebody from craft services about when lunch is going to be served to, do these lights look right? What lens are we going to use? Like, you will be bombarded, right, with all these different departments coming to you because you're the director and you need to direct and you need to make decisions. And so I think being a good decision maker is important as an independent filmmaker.
Sure. Yeah, it's a commitment. I mean, you're either in or you're out. I mean, there's no in between. So you had a lot of success with getting your films into film festivals. Any advice about that for other filmmakers? Yeah.
Be smart about the festivals that you choose, right? Like, my strategy, I do primarily comedy films, right? Mm-hmm. So I look for comedy film festivals, right? I figure, my odds go up drastically, just by being targeted about the festivals that I apply to. I look for regional, festivals. I think if you're a local filmmaker, you've got a leg up often in festivals because they want people to attend the festival, right? It's good to have the filmmakers there. Just, like, don't make your first short film and apply to South by Southwest and the Austin, Film Festival, and I don't know, what's another big one? Telluride Film Festival, right? Like, your odds of getting into those festivals is basically zero. Pick smaller, regional, genre targeted film festivals, and then have a great poster, take time on the synopsis for your film, your biography, add behind the scenes footage and stills, like, make it compelling to that person who's on the selection committee and is, trying to determine what it is that they want to feature in their festival.
That's another thing you do is design the posters.
Yeah, some good ones, some that are,
The ones I've seen were all pretty good.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
So, your current project, El Chupacabra, it's a horror comedy. And so what drew you to that genre?
Well, I like horror and I like comedy, so that's a part of it. a lot of my favorite comedy movies are like horror comedy movies, and probably Young Frankenstein from Mel Brooks, you know, is one of the first horror comedies that caught my attention. I just, I like that, you know, I like doing parodies, right? I like to lovingly, you know, spoof, you know, the horror genre and the films that I love. So I think that's a big part of it. I just like to make people laugh. Like that is the most satisfying thing in the world to me. And to sit in a theater with an audience and listen to them laugh at something, you know, that you wrote and directed, there is not anything, you know, more exciting to me than that experience. And so I think that's, you know, part of the reason that I chose that. There is a little bit of a you know, kind of a marketing angle to it. That the horror genre is very popular, and so I think if you have a horror film, it's a little easier to get distribution. But that didn't really factor a lot into my decision. It was much more about I just love that genre.
Gotcha. So you've written practically every film you've ever made. Any advice for aspiring screenwriters? But before you answer that, let me just let our viewers know that Rob loves to write. And before this interview, I asked him if there's any particular questions that he wanted me to ask him. And he said yes. And next thing I know, he sends me the entire script for this interview. So these are all the camera angles, everything. It's all Rob.
Yeah, you're blowing your lungs. So. Advice for screenwriters. So I think when I first started writing, the thing that I struggled with the most was finishing something, right? Yeah. And I had a habit of, like, I'd write something and the next day I'd read it. And then I wouldn't be satisfied with that and I'd change it. And I wouldn't make any progress because I was just changing what I wrote, right? And then maybe I would write a little bit more, but then, you know, I'd read through the whole thing again. So my point is, if you're gonna write, just write and don't stop. Don't go back, don't edit. You know, write the script and get it done and let it be terrible, because you can go back and rewrite it. But if you don't finish it, you got nothing, right? Yeah. So just keep the momentum, you know, keep going, don't look back. So that's a big part of it. I think learn the craft. There are a lot of great books about screenwriting. I would recommend, I think it's called Screenplay by Sid Field. That was the first book that I ever read. Really helps you to understand the structure of a film and you know, the 3 acts and plot points and the midpoint. And so I'd say, you know, learn that. Save the Cat, I think, is a great formula for writers to follow. Maybe a bit formulaic, but it's a great template to help you kind of outline and write your movie. So I'd say, you know, that's a big piece of it. And then the other thing would be get feedback on your script. Share it with as many people as you can, you know, who you trust, who you think will give you, you know, their honest opinion about it, because your script will only get better if you get input from other people. I use a peer review site called Coverfly X, and it's got a bidding system. You know, read somebody's script and then earn tokens, and then you can use that for other people to read your script. I have gotten tremendous feedback on that site, and so yeah, get feedback on the script. Your screenplay will be better for it.
Good advice. Yeah, I think the ending is usually the hardest. So you're currently working on your first feature, El Chupacabra. Is there any particular reason why you chose to make a movie about the El Chupacabra? So it started out as a short film,
And no, I don't. I don't actually have a good reason why I chose El Chupacabra. I guess living in Texas for 25 years, it's like a Texas thing.
Yeah.
I did want to make a Texas movie. Like that was an important thing for me, making the feature. I wanted to take advantage of, the Texas landscape and the hill country and, kind of the people of Texas. So that factored into it. It actually started as a short film. I had worked with a couple of actors, Jared Donnelly, Sam Pierce, on a 48-hour film project. So I got an idea from them and their characters about, this grifter who rolls into town and takes advantage of people, by looking for Chupacabra or Bigfoot, like that's his scam. And that was the idea for the short film. And the more I thought about it, like I decided I wanted to expand it into a feature. I felt like I had a good idea there.
Yep.
As I wrote the feature, it changed completely. And became this big like sci-fi extravaganza. Yeah. And so I finished that, and then I was like, I will never be able to make this movie, unless I have a $50 million budget, which I don't think anybody's going to give to me. So I'm going to have to take a different approach to it. And I got feedback, from a lot of screenwriters, and people gravitated towards the comedy in it because it was kind of like a Stranger Things type tone, I guess, to it. Where it was a sci-fi story or horror story, but it had comedy. Yep. And the feedback that I got was, hey, the best thing about this is the comedy. You really should focus on the comedy. And then I went and thought about all the films that I'd made, like The Tuckering, about the serial killer who's out of shape, and everything I did was comedy. Yep. And I was like, oh, maybe I'm a comedian. Like, maybe that would be the right thing to do. And so I rewrote it, with a much more comedic tone, and it just got hopefully funnier and funnier as I continue to rewrite it. And I've rewritten that script 12 times now. Yeah.
So Rob, what lessons have you learned so far in making a feature that surprised you?
Well, so one of the things, like making a feature film, I had to start thinking about the business of show business, right? And what it takes to distribute a film. And what I discovered is that, well, it's probably not that difficult to distribute your film, but to make money by distributing your film is an extremely difficult thing. So, there are a lot of predatory distribution companies out there. They will try to wrap your film up for 15 years, own it, you'll never see a dime. So that was discouraging, to learn about that minefield. But it also forced me to think about, other models of distribution, self-distribution, learn how to do that. And, there are ways to get your film onto all of the streaming platforms. There's a very good distribution product called Film Hub. That basically gets your film out on as many of the smaller streaming platforms as possible. You can put your film up and on a website and have people buy a digital copy of the film, right? So anyway, it was interesting to learn about the business, and so I kind of enjoyed the process of figuring all that stuff out. And then I would also say the number of people that have been willing to step up and help out other filmmakers, who've come to me and said, hey, I have a location, you can use it, I know this great sound person or this, great first AC, and, I'll read your script. Like, there have been a ton of people who've been extremely supportive, filmmakers themselves, and so it's been nice, to have that kind of network of support here in San Antonio from other filmmakers, encouraging me, you know, because it's a long road, right?
Yeah.
To make a feature film, there are times when you get discouraged, you know, and it feels like, man, maybe, you know, this won't happen. But I've had a lot of people who've kind of, you know, picked me up and helped me to keep going. So
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a great community, the filmmaking community.
Yep.
It's like extended family. Yeah. So, are you thinking beyond El Chupacabra? I mean, what's next for you?
The real answer is basically no. No, I know, you know, that at least till the middle of 2023, that it will be Chupacabra and nothing else, right?
All Chupacabra.
But I do, you know, I have ideas for some things that I want to do, you know, kind of, you know, the bucket list of genres or story ideas. I have a title for something.
Okay.
So that's good,
Yeah,
right?
that's a start.
Mesmoto Saves the Galaxy. So it was like a sci-fi
Good title.
thing, you know, sort of like Buck Rogers, you know, kind of that world,
Yeah.
but a sci-fi comedy. So that, and then I've always wanted to do my John Hughes film, and I have an idea that sort of Christmas breakfast club, I guess is what I would call it, but it's about a group of kids who all their life have been going to this neighborhood Christmas party, but their, you know, friendships over time have splintered, and then they kind of come back for that last you know, neighborhood Christmas party before they go off to college, and hilarity ensues. So whether I will actually make either of those, I have no idea, but you know, those are the things that are rolling around in my head right now.
Those are really good ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. All right, that's good. I appreciate the encouragement.
Do it. So
Maybe.
What do you like about filming in this area?
Can I tell you what I don't like?
Sure.
It's hot as shit, Art. It's
Yeah.
so hot for so long, and so it makes it really hard to film outside.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons El Chupacabra is shooting in the fall. You
Yeah.
know, because I don't want people to die. So, you know, the hill country, like, it is unique, and I haven't had much of a struggle to find locations. You know, people have been willing to, you know, let me shoot. Working with the Film Commission, they've been very helpful in terms of getting some locations. I've shot around the Riverwalk area, and so yeah, that's been a good experience.
Nice. Good. And so, what's the best film you've seen this year?
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. That is by far the best movie that I've seen this year. It's crazy, but it has this amazing sort of like grounded in reality sci-fi time travel story. And Michelle Yeoh is terrific in it. I mean, she's just brilliant. And so that was a movie that like left a mark on me this year, that I just thought it was amazing.
Nice.
So yeah, that's it. Go see it.
And then finally, where can our viewers find you? Social media channels, website?
I am right here. On social media.
Yeah. And how can they best support you once they find you?
Okay. Hold me up under my armpits. That seems to keep me up the best. I don't know. So at the Chupacabra movie on Facebook, we're running an Indiegogo campaign. I don't know when this will air, but we've got about 2 weeks left. We just extended the campaign in hopes of securing a bit more financial support for the film. So you could go to Indiegogo.com and search for Chupacabra. That probably would be the easiest way, or you can go to chupacabramovie.com/launch, and that will get you there as well. Find us on Facebook at the Chupacabra movie. Just search for Chupacabra somewhere, and hopefully, you know, our film will come up. So Yeah, and in terms of support, like we're doing the crowdfunding campaign, and so if you are excited about the idea, if you love horror comedy, if you want to see a Texas movie with a Texas cast and crew, then we would love to have you support the film. We're going to need some volunteers as part of the crew, and so if you are inclined and interested, message us on Facebook. We would certainly appreciate that support as well.
Well, Rob, I want to thank you for taking time out today and joining us here at Olla Café in the Los Patios shopping area, right off 410 on the north side. And until next time, I'm Art Kurland, and thanks for watching Alamo Film Group's Make Your Movie interview series.
Thank you, Art.